Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. That means each time we look at the day and ask ourselves what happened, what does it tell us about the coming days. I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel LA Little. If you want to subscribe, reach up in the right-hand corner and do so. Anytime I push content, you get a notification. Quick, easy, and free to keep up with what I'm saying. And what these markets are doing, and what they're doing is they're starting to lose their momentum to the downside. You can see it here today. The Dow here actually eked out a little small gain. The S&P was basically flat. You still had the pressure on that Russell, and I actually drew that wrong. We were looking at the HSI as well. That's not what I intended to do. But if we look elsewhere, you did have a little strength overseas here. You don't have it in Asia. Asia still can't get going. And, Nikkei trading tonight looks like down a little bit. So overall, not much happening there. What we did see was a spike up in the dollar again. That was after a breakdown on multiple swing points. That usually doesn't happen, but it is happening. That's putting pressure back on gold, silver, and so forth. And so you're getting that counter trend push on the dollar back to the top side. And one has to wonder how far it's going to go. Tomorrow you've got the employment numbers. Those will probably have a decent sized effect. In terms of tomorrow, you're not going to get much other news. Most of the earnings are about done now. And so it's getting back into whatever the economics are and the technicals again. In terms of what's going to move the market next. Let's take a look at the charts. There's not a lot to talk about tonight. I think everything's kind of waiting on tomorrow. Inside day on the S&P. Inside days never tell you much. You've got a little small downtrend going. If you wanted to split hairs here, you could say, hey, we got an ABCD structure. That should measure down a little bit farther, so forth, right? We've got this swing point low down here we've been talking about. A break or even a test of this low, this week, tomorrow, would negate that printing on the weekly time frame swing point low. That number is 2022. Again, we closed at 2050, so that would cost you about 28 points to get down there. Can it happen? Yeah, it's possible. Is it going to happen? I don't think so, but I've had a tough week this week making calls on this market because it's just a choppy move back and forth. Not a lot of movement really when you look at it. You're 25 points off the highs of Friday. Actually, not even Fridays. It was Mondays, right? So you're 25 point off Monday's highs, and you're basically 10 points under Friday's lows at most. Yeah, about 10 points. 2050 low there was 2060. So, at this point, can you go lower? Yeah, you can, but it really depends on what happens tomorrow. And right now, this market's just having a hard time giving it up. Now, if I was a classical guy, I might look at this and say, hey, we got a kind of a head and shoulders here. I might use that as a shoulder or use this as a head, and maybe I use that one, or maybe I use this one as the right shoulder. People can find what they want to find in most of the charts. So that's probably more equal. And if so, then that says if you break this shoulder line, right, then that could get you a larger move to the downside. Maybe you even draw it this way. I don't practice this stuff anymore. What I can tell you is that your swing point low is here. The other one's there. You break two of them, yeah, you can get a push down. Your next volume area is back here. That's about 2009. The low of it's 1986. I know it's hard to remember back this far, but on the push back up, that retest regen on the first bearish retest regen, in other words, the last swing point low that was broken over here. When we came back up, and that was, we're talking about the January break, when we came back up, that test, you got a little consolidation as you tried to break above it, and then you just kind of moseyed right on through it and just kind of worked your way higher and broke most all the swing points on the way back up, at least all the bearish retest regens. Well, now you're coming back. That would be the natural area to see it come back to if and when it gets there. So, you know, I could see it push that far. That's not where I think it's going to push to. I told members earlier where I thought that was, and it wasn't there. So let's see how far they want to come back. I don't think, you know, if you go back and just look at it, you know, you get this kind of a push up, just like you got back here. You're not going to give it all up at once. And look how long this consolidated. Yeah, you got big moves back then. November, of course, that's a different time of the year. But 2096 down to 2022, so you got 70-point moves in a week. You know, so far you've seen, what do we got here, 99 to 52, so it's about a 47. This week, if you did 47 again, that would get you down to that 2022 area where we're talking about that swing point low printing. And that one that's going to print this weekend is right there if we don't test it tomorrow. If we look at the NASDAQ, not a lot happening there either. I believe it was an inside day as well. And let's see if the bottom actually touched. Is that the exact same price point on the bottom? No, a little bit lower. 0975. So you actually got under back over, a little less volume. So if anything, that says, hey, it's a little under over, but at this point, I think you're reading too much into the charts if you're trying to read that. NDX, same thing, not much happening there. A little under over as well, and a lighter volume. And the Russell actually under, didn't get back over. Still drifting back. Now, if there is a tell tonight, it's here, and that is that you had a bullish retest regenerate that failed to hold. Now, I usually don't look at the very first day of failure, the first bar of failure, I should say. Let's see if that's true. I believe it's under it, 1108.17. Yeah, just barely. So when it's that close, volume's not expanding that much. You know, I kind of look past it and say, show me, you know, can you do it a couple days? So if it does again, tomorrow stays under it, then yeah, it does break it. And again, this is more than 6 bars, and we're seeing this in a lot of places. This could be just because of extension, because the extension typically is when you see this kind of stuff happen. In other words, you get a long run, and then you see more than 6 bars, and then you test all the way down. The other thing that happens that causes that is when you get the breakout, even though you go more than 6 bars, you don't get very far. In other words, it's not a lot to get back down there. And so that's the other case. Those are the two cases. And we're in kind of the latter case and having been in the former case on the long extended run. So the Russell, if anything, is giving us a signal to the downside. If I look over at the other signal that I saw tonight to the downside, it's over here, and that's in the sectors. And if I go to the sectors, I'll start with the utilities. On the utilities, you push up, you get over, you get back under, you got less volume, right? You're also testing this breakdown bars high. You can't stay over it. That looks like it's going to try to push to the downside. I bring it up because it's a safety sector. So money's been trying to go, well, I bring it up because it's a failure. I also want to note it's a safety sector. So if you're getting them selling what is safe, and here's the XLP doing the same thing, so you're coming into the exact same situation, right? You got your breakdown bar here, you test over it, you can't hold over it, you get over the prior bar, less volume, so you're and you've had a little push, right? Both of those are saying they're going to try to come back. Now, if they're safety sectors, does that mean we're going to rotate into the non-safety sectors? In other words, the things that are more bullish and speculative. And if that is a counter trend, right? I mean, it's a counter tell. In other words, it's telling you that you can expect the rest of the market to try to bounce and these to stop going up and instead start coming down. If we look just quickly through the sectors, you know, you don't see a lot happening here. You had a little push up in volume. The one I wanted to show was the industrials. Industrials, remember, they broke down under their swing point highs test. They held under it. That says that, you know, this extended run to the upside more than likely is not going to continue for now. You're going to get some sort of consolidation to the side. And so that says, hey, if you're in industrial stocks, that's probably not where you want to be. You want to be in something that hasn't done that. Financials hasn't done it yet. They're still coming back towards their swing point highs. The energy Let's grab the energy instead of the Russell here. The energy stocks are also coming back towards their swing point high. And though it's hard to believe, given the way that they've traded lately, the material sector is just coming back into the swing point high. So if you're going to get bounces, these are the ones that are telling you it's going to happen as they come back into their highest support zone. Lastly, let's look at the dollar, because the currencies have been a big thing for a long time, and they continue to move these markets. You got the employment numbers tomorrow that may factor into that again. And so if I look at, and I'll start with the dollar pushed back up, and again, this is where you've got an extended move. If we look at it on a daily, on a weekly, fairly extended move to the downside. Volume, as it broke, less volume. Now it gets under, back over, has more volume, which says it probably will try to come down here again. But in the meantime, it's bouncing, and it's bouncing back into the swing point lows. There's two of them. The overlap of the two starts right here. So that, and you've got actually a lot of breakages. You have this swing point low as well. Starts in that area. You got another one right there that starts. And so this whole area is going to be hard to get back over. And so the fact that you're leaving volume, even though you're bouncing immediately, I suspect you're going to come back down and test this area again. Now, if I go back over to the other side of the equation and look at the euro is, of course, pulling back instead of going up into a swing point high. That's a bullish retest regen. It's right at the lows of the high. It's a full retest. So tomorrow will be kind of a tell of the tape for it. And then the Japanese yen is the other one. And that yen has been pulling back, coming into a swing point high also to retest. So the currencies are kind of on the bubble here. Dollar is the only one given a signal yet. It's suggesting that, yeah, even though it's getting the bounce on a weekly, on an intermediate term time frame, it is going to come down again. The real question on the shorter term time frame is, will the yen and will the euro hold their bullish retest? If they do, then that dollar is going to fall sooner than the weekly time frame that we're looking at. What do I think about tomorrow? I don't have a good tell. I mean, I haven't had good reads all week, and I'm not going to stretch a tell on this one. If anything, there's a slight bias to the upside in that we've already had a decent little pullback and we've been holding here. But I think a lot of it's going to be on how the market interprets the number. And frankly, right now, I don't know if a good number or a bad number is going to move the market, or which way it's going to move it. So much is dependent on these central bankers, or at least has been, and the currency moves as a result of them, that I think you have to just wait and see and make your trade off of whatever happens. So I have no real strong opinion about tomorrow. I'm going to leave it at that. It's been a long week. It's been a tough week, actually. Made some good money last week, gave some decent money back this week. Sometimes that's the way trading rolls. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me. Tell a friend, tell two. And if you're interested in joining us, taking a look at what I do, just hit the Get Started button, take a look. Actually, we've returned about 3% on our portfolios so far this year, which all in all is not bad given what's happened this year. Have a great one. Good night.